What's up, guys? This is Justin for the 330 Sports Show. Today is going to be a little bit of a special edition. As you can see on the bottom, this is going to be our Festivus show. And with that, we're going to do some airing of grievances. And if you don't know what Festivus is, Greg and I are going to tell you all about it in a minute. But before we do that, let's have a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling is affordable, professional, and there when you need us 24/7. Stay warm this winter by calling your hometown hero today. Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling, 330-207-7070. This program proudly supported and brought to you by Eric Cromer, Cross Country Mortgage, a wiser way to mortgage. This program proudly supported and brought to you by the Youngstown Drip IV Bar, helping the Mahoning Valley reach its wellness goal. This program proudly supported and brought to you by Youngstown Computer, the Valley's IT company.
All right, thanks to those sponsors. Let's bring in Greg from down in Columbus, and this is going to be our airing of grievances. Greg, I got no grievances with you right now. Hopefully you got none with me, but hopefully this should be fun. I know we've been talking about doing this for a week or so now, so hopefully you've built up some grievances.
I have, yeah. This will be good. It's always fun to kind of let loose a little bit. It's the holiday season, right? It's a great time of the year, but it's also, let's be honest, it's a stressful time of the year. It's a lot going on. A lot of family, a lot of stress. So
yeah,
this will be fun.
Yeah, no doubt. So for anyone that doesn't know what Festivus is, I'm sure most people, at least in our age bracket, we're big Seinfeld fans. Probably anyone that's from, I would say, late 20s to like even early 60s. There's like a nice 40-year window there where people that were probably big Seinfeld fans. But George Costanza's father, Frank, isn't that Ben Stiller's?
Yeah, Jerry Stiller. Yeah.
Jerry Stiller's dad, or Ben Stiller's dad, Jerry, played Frank Costanza, and he came up with this holiday. And for anyone that doesn't know what it is, we're going to show you right now. So here we go.
What?
Nothing. It's a card from my dad.
I find your belief system fascinating.
It's a Festivus mirror.
So that is a little breakdown of what Festivus is. We're not going to do the feats of strength, but we don't have the poll here, but we are going to do our airing of grievances. And a lot of times when we do shows like this, it's a draft, but we're just going to go back and forth. No order. We're not writing it down, but Greg, I'm just going to let you go first. So give me one of your airing of grievances.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, I have a pretty good laundry list, and it's one of these where like I could kind of go and with anyone in any order. And I guess, and I have some sort of strong grievances and some that are more, just unfortunate things to complain about. But I'm going to start and admittedly say that maybe sometimes, I think we're all guilty of this sometimes, but some more than others. But I'm going to air my grievance against the spoiled Ohio State Buckeye football fans out there.
Coming in hot.
Coming in a little hot, coming in after my own kind, but I think we've all had a chance to reflect the last few weeks, and I mean, obviously, for 3 years in a row now, the regular season has not ended the way we wanted to, and it sucks, it hurts, but like we grew up in kind of an era where, if Ohio State won 10 games, it was a successful season. I mean, you want to beat Michigan, you got to beat Michigan. But like, it was not a foregone conclusion that we would be, 10-1 or 11-0 every year going into that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think since Urban took over, really, I mean, the Tressel era was fantastic as well. But since Urban took over, this program has been raised to an entirely new level, and the expectations are actually out of control to the point where I think we found this. We sat at a couple games this year. It's like hard to enjoy most of the regular season anymore because there's going to be one or two games during the season leading up to Michigan. This year was Notre Dame. We had a couple, you had Penn State, you had the Rutgers scare for a while, but usually other than that, it's pretty much uneventful. You get through those and it's all about one game. And unfortunately we've come down on the wrong side of that one game, but let's not even, and I don't even want to step on another grievance. Let's not even talk about the past 2 years and whatever Michigan may or may not have known in that game. But, and I'm not going to sit here and be a Ryan Day apologist, but I mean, I do feel like he's a good football coach. Like, you don't get points for trying, but these guys are working their ass off. They're trying, they're going as hard as they can for this game. At the end of the day, it's one football game. Michigan, love it, like it or not, was a hell of a football team this year, and we knew it was going to be a battle. It came down to 3 or 4 plays that we didn't make, the mistakes that they didn't make and we made. But, just the way that it's just like the way that the fan base kind of reacts to games like this, goes after players, coaches, and kind of wants to blow the whole thing up because we've lost to Michigan 3 years in a row, 2 of which have asterisks next to them. It just doesn't sit right with me. Again, like I just have this, I still have this image in my mind of Ryan Day walking off the field after that Michigan game, like showing him walking in the tunnel. And as upset as I was about the game, I actually just felt heartbroken for him and the program and the team. Yeah. And we love this. We love this school. We love this team, almost as much as, pretty high up on the list of things we love in our lives. And I think sometimes as much emotion as we put into it, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. Ryan Day's done a tremendous job at Ohio State. He has not gotten it done in the big situations. And, oh, by the way, he also means just players have not gotten it done as well. It's like the coaches, get blamed when a player throws an interception or makes a mistake. Like it's, we're going to fix it as a program. We're going to continue to work on it. These things go in cycles. Everybody take a breath. It's still a golden era of Ohio State football. It'd be nice to get another national championship here in the next few years, but kind of try to enjoy what we have, because imagine if you were a Syracuse fan or a Oregon State fan, you know what I mean? It's like, it just, these people complaining about going 11-1 doesn't really sit well with 99% of the college football world. So
interesting you chose Syracuse as one of those teams.
I don't know why it was on my mind.
But no, I mean, you're dead on, and I'm so glad you said that, because that didn't even come on my list. But as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, that should be right up there with any of these. Basically, if you look over the 4-team playoff history since 2014, when Ohio State was the first team to win it, Ohio State would have been the only team, if you start from that point, if there was a 12-team playoff, to make it every single year. They finished, I think, no lower than 7th in any of those seasons. And I think this year was one of those 2 years where they dropped to 6 or 7 in the final poll. And it's like, that is a bad season for Ohio State, and, like last year, yeah, we lose to Michigan, but you got Georgia on the ropes, the 2-time national champions. And, injuries don't go a few different ways. You probably win that game and win the national title. And there would still be Ohio State fans that would consider that not a successful season because you lost to Michigan, even though you won the national championship. So I couldn't agree with you more. I am all on board for that. That's a great one. So, let me ask you the percentage of this too. I'm always curious, and I'd like to I should post this question out there. But what percentage of Ohio State fans, and this goes for just about any fan base, Alabama, at least the major brands, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, some have different real, expectations, but what percentage of those fans are, I hate to say bad, but like nutty or like kind of crazy.
Well, I think it follows it's a microcosm of the kind of the world at large, right? You have a silent majority and you have a very, very vocal minority.
Yeah.
So I would say it's less than 10%, some of which may not even be true Buckeye fans.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be one of those like, if you didn't go to the school, you're not a fan. Now that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But, that's not somebody that's been like an Ohio State football fan their entire life. But yeah, it's got to be less than 10%. And, I think we're all on social media, and, I don't know about you, but after the Michigan game, I took like a 24-hour Twitter break because I'm not looking at anything like until that kind of cycles through, and it made the next 24 hours as pleasant as it can be. But to answer your question, you're talking about a small number of people, but especially with social media, they have a pretty loud voice, and they can poison and that's the problem too. There's probably like that 5 to 10% that's like vocal about it. And then they're probably poisoning another 10% that maybe kind of start either posting things or thinking things, and it does kind of bleed. And, I get it. I think we all feel it. Sometimes the points sometimes are valid, but it's just like, it's you're talking about 18 to 21-year-old kids. You're talking about a game. We've all played sports. Shit happens. It's one game. And, especially the way the game went this year, you could argue maybe in past years we got pushed around a little bit. And although we did in the second half, we also pushed them around. It was kind of one of those, it came down to mistakes.
Yep.
We never basically caught up from that first quarter interception. And it's just the way it goes. And again, I'm not trying to excuse it and say it's okay, but we just gotta, it's like everything, we just gotta take the freaking temperature down and just relax a little bit. And you can be, this is going to sound really like, I thought about this earlier and it's kind of cheesy, but somebody's probably said this before, but you can have passion and still have some compassion as well. Right. Like, it's like we all yell at the TV and do things like that.
Yeah.
But you can also be like somewhat compassionate for these guys that are like busting their ass and giving everything they have for the university.
Well said. All right. Well, with that, Greg took it to a new level there. He took it like to a, passion level. I'm going to go with just a pure dislike of the next mine. I'm going to go with this guy. I'm just so freaking sick of Draymond Green. And, so my airing of grievances is this guy, and the NBA and the Golden State Warriors are kind of doing right by this situation. Is they're kind of giving him like, hey, go get your shit together because your head ain't right. And I don't want to make light of like mental health or anything like that, but there's something going on that's not right with that dude. And it started, I remember a Cavs game earlier on this season when he like shoved Donovan Mitchell like way under the hoop, and then like Donovan Mitchell came up and like, got into it with him. He literally puts Rudy Gobert in an absolute like sleeper hold. And then was it Nurkic? Yeah, Nurkic last week, where he like turns around and acts like I was just trying to sell the foul. You knew damn well what you were doing in like open fist, closed fist, whatever. It was a punch. So Draymond Green, he was on our all piece of shit team, with guys like, you throw out any names from the past or current, Joakim Noah, players like that, the guys you can't stand, but he's right towards the top of that list for me. So Draymond Green gets my airing of grievances. Greg, anything on him?
No, I like that one. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've all kind of hated that guy. I mean, really pretty much since Michigan State. But I don't feel like he was quite as bad at Michigan State, but you can kind of see I think it was always, oh, this guy's really passionate. He's, but then it just,
There's that word again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a word of the day. A question for you though on that. I mean, and again, I hate him as much as anybody. What would, if he played in the 80s, 90s, like, I guess would we even be talking about him right now? Would it? I mean, it's still.
Yeah,
I agree.
Point,
though, it feels like what he's doing is a little bit different because it's kind of, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna commit a hard foul. It's like these kind of weird, like the choke holds, or like magically I'm gonna go for a jump shot and my leg's gonna come up and hit a guy in the groin, and it's. But it is interesting. Is he just playing in the wrong era?
Right. Well, that's part of it too, but you also know the rules of the game and know how things are called. And there are cameras everywhere. Like back in the 80s or maybe even early 90s, you might only have one angle or two angles of certain things. There's literally a camera on top of the hoop. There's cameras that are basically like aerial visuals of everything. There's 100 different photographers there with whether camcorders or videographers, whatever. So you're not getting away with it. Plus, like since it's almost like, I hate to bring up 9/11, but it's almost since like the flights changed after 9/11. A lot of basketball rules changed after the Ron Artest fight in the Palace. So I don't know, but it's kind of like, okay, we'll let you get away with like 20 of those, but like the 21st one, no, that's so.
And we also didn't mention that he just freaking decked Jordan Poole in practice yesterday.
Exactly.
Last season, I'm sorry, which is, I mean, that's assault any way you look at it, just flat out sucker punching a guy.
On one of your own teammates.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was interesting. Like Kerr the other day, like was pretty candid with his remarks, and they got to be. I mean, they're supporting him, and I get it. Yes, he probably has I mean, again, not to. He may have real problems. He certainly has anger problems, but he's cost the Warriors at least one championship, you could say, by the suspension against the Cavs. I mean, as much as we don't want to admit it, I'm not, do we still come back and win? Hopefully we did, but you could argue he cost them the championship there. And he's they're having a bad season this year, and he's not the only reason, but it's like,
right.
How much more of this shit are they going to put up with this guy?
Yeah. Yeah. And I get for a while, he's a great teammate and all this and that. But when when you start to lose like the trust of, like, basically the reason they signed him was he was like kind of a protector for Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. And, you always need that guy, but he's become more of like an agitator and more of a liability than an asset. So, yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Well, Greg, we've done about 2 picks in about 12 minutes here, so we'll go a little faster pace. But you can go with your next grievance. I'm
gonna go with, and there's a few. I'm gonna hit an NFL one here. Is just like, and there's a lot of different ways to go here, but I'm just going to say like the absolutely terrible quarterback play that we're seeing on a week-to-week basis in the NFL.
Okay.
And just like, now you have your Joe Flacco's who kind of came off the couch and are doing well, but you just think about like some of the guys that like guys that, like, if you just said at the beginning of the year that we would be watching a guy named Easton Stick and Aiden, and actually I shouldn't say Aiden O'Connell because he actually did pretty well, but like Mitch Trubisky or Mason Rudolph coming in.
Mitch Trubisky was Mr. Ohio.
Yeah, that's true. Like, Tommy DeVito. Help me out. Who else is like just these terrible, like week in and week out. These, like, it just feels like, I guess what I don't understand, and this is kind of what this is what I don't understand. I don't understand, like, every year in college football, there's like, 10 to 15, like, there's probably 3 to 5, like, really good. Hey, this guy's going to be an NFL quarterback.
Right.
And there's probably 10 to 15 that are like, hey, this guy will get some run in the NFL. But then these teams get to like their backup quarterback, and it's just like, how many good backup quarterbacks are there in the? I mean, are there in the NFL? And the injuries have been terrible this year, and it's made the product. It's diluted the product a little bit. But like, I don't know how many times have we sat this year and watched an NFL game with just like one or two quarterbacks that just like you just kind of marvel at. I guess you could the flip side could be like, wow, this really is the hardest position to play in all of sports, because there's probably only 10 to 15 guys on the planet that can do it well. But good God.
Yeah.
Like,
I was thinking, I was like, oh, Davis Mills probably started for Texans last week. No, it was our old buddy Case Keenum that started for them last week.
And he got the win. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's like, is that going to become, maybe that becomes the thing now, instead of like some rookie from North Dakota State. Like, why not just go with a guy? He might be in his mid to late 30s, but he started before. Like Jacoby Brissett came off the bench yesterday and did really well. Yeah. Like maybe that's where you need to go with your backup. But I feel like after this season, the probably the positive side of this is you'll probably start seeing teams investing in like serviceable backup quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, that's the problem with the NFL too. So many of these quarterbacks make so much money that you can't allocate a lot of that cap money towards backup. Yep. And I think that's what the Browns did with Brissett last year. They were like, well, we got to get off that contract, 6, 7, 8 million, whatever it was. It's like, you got to maybe cut a good corner or a good safety because you have a backup quarterback. And yeah, he might not play, but he's a good insurance policy to have if you need it. So, I mean, I'm just looking at some of these names now, like Clayton Tune, the Browns went against earlier this year. Brett Rippon is Matt Stafford's backup. And when Matt Stafford didn't play earlier in the year, they got absolutely blown out. Let's see. You got
any of the Jets quarterbacks.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But the guy that they started when they benched Wilson, that had like, it was like an Aaron Rodgers guy, and he had like it. I thought it was a joke. Like, it was the guy from UConn, and I can't remember what his name was, but he had like 3 college touchdown passes and like 12 interceptions, and it's just like, how in the hell is this guy in the NFL? And there's got to be. I think about that with this is like switching gears. I think about that with the NBA too, with some guy like it's just like some of these guys that, like, I think I texted you about Joe Ingles, and he's a decent NBA player, but like, how does a guy like Joe Ingles get on an NBA roster? But there's like, you name it, somebody that's like 6'8", super athletic is playing out in China. And I don't know if it's like luck, if it's just fit or what it is, but I feel like it's kind of like that with quarterbacks. Like, you could go to the XFL or the USFL and probably find guys that have more raw physical ability, but for some reason, they're not on an NFL roster.
No doubt. And I mean, some of these guys really have shown something, at least. I know your pet peeve is like the bad ones, but I mean, a lot of these guys are really bad. But there has been some good ones. You take a look at Jake Browning. Was what he's
great. Yeah,
with Cincinnati. Gardner Minshew started the season as a backup for Anthony Richardson. He's been playing great. Obviously, you got Deshaun was hurt, then DTR was hurt, then PJ Walker went in first. They released him, and now Flacco. Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. That's a revolving door. Which one's going to get benched next? But Aiden O'Connell's played a lot this year because Garoppolo's been out. Brian Hoyer has played. How about the Steelers right now? They're going to be on their 3rd starting quarterback. So they went from Pickett, who got hurt, to Trubisky, to frickin' punchable face Mason Rudolph. That's a whole airing of grievances right there. Will Levis is doing well, though. How about Tyson Badgett from the Bears? Like,
that's
did you ever hear his backstory with like his dad was the arm wrestler?
Yes. Yeah.
Basically the plot to the movie Over the Top.
And it's like these guys are like good for like a week, or they come in for like 2 quarters, and then it's like, oh wait, they come crashing back to earth.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason we even know who Tommy DeVito is because Tyrod Taylor got hurt, who was backing up Daniel Jones. And, it's like, can you even tell me who Green Bay's backup quarterback is?
No.
Sean Clifford. How about that?
Sean Clifford. Holy crap.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a mid-tier Big Ten quarterback for his career.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And God forbid Brock Purdy gets hurt because then they got to go Sam Darnold, and it's like Minnesota. They lost Kirk Cousins. They lost Jaron Hall for a while. They benched Josh Dobbs. They're on another guy. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I think teams definitely need to invest more in that backup quarterback. But again, like you said, is that even a availability? I think I saw like 57 or 56 is the number of starting quarterbacks this year. But surprisingly, it was the same last year at this time.
That is really surprising.
I think it's just maybe more high profile names.
Yeah.
You lose, Watson, you lose Kirk Cousins, you lose who else? Aaron Rodgers.
Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow. So it's a lot of like bigger names that are out this year based on, other guys. But look at some of the best teams in the league, at least in the AFC. You got so number 1 seed right now is
Ravens.
The Ravens. Lamar Jackson is usually one of those injured quarterbacks. He's not hurt. Tua, he hasn't been hurt this year. Who's the third? Mahomes. Yeah, obviously he's fine. And then Trevor Lawrence didn't even freaking miss a game with a high ankle sprain. So so your top 4 teams in the AFC all have their starting quarterback. So I don't know. It's that's definitely I said we weren't going to go long on each one, but we probably will. But that's good. It's good conversation. So all right, I'm going to my next one, and I am going to go with, this is kind of a current topic, but I'm going to go with NIL, and I'm going to explain it first. So NIL, name, image, likeness, and I've had plenty of college athletes on the show that benefit from name, image, and likeness, as they should. Name, image, and likeness was designed for, I think, players to make a little extra cash, maybe, your elite players, your top level guys to maybe, get that car endorsement, or, like can help provide for their family who might not have much. So my problem is not with that at all. I think that's great. I think that's how it should work. My problem with NIL is how it has affected college football in particular, and the recruiting side of things. So Texas A&M, perfect example. They, get the greatest recruiting class in history. And then it's all blown up this year because you got guys in the transfer portal. They're not getting the money that they promised. I think there's a guy that played for the Florida Gators last year that has like some lingering lawsuit because his NIL deal, there was some weirdness there. He didn't get the money, but maybe he owes like an agent money because he was promised, there's a whole bunch of this stuff going around. And then National Signing Day is coming up actually this week. And then you got guys flipping and going this way and that way because they're being promised money, and they're not going necessarily the best place for them. They're going where, they're getting the biggest bag of money, which I can't blame an 18-year-old kid for, to go get the money. But again, it's like these boosters, it's these other like nefarious characters, maybe we'll say, that are kind of messing it up. And the NCAA maybe is the biggest person at fault, or biggest entity at fault, because they haven't regulated it. So it's like whatever goes, so that's my grievance. And I think it's great for what it's intended, but I think it sucks for what it's become.
Yeah, it and you can almost kind of link the transfer portal to that too, because they're kind of wanting, they kind of fit together, right? It's like, I'm going in the transfer portal and I'm basically going to the highest bidder. And yeah, I'm totally with you. Like, right. And I have one coming up that's a money driven one as well. And yeah, you can't blame anybody for trying to make make as much money as they can, capitalize on their what could be limited amount of time of being marketable. But at the same token, like making decisions for money at age 18, age 19, and to your point, like having people in your ear that are kind of in it for themselves is not the way to do it. I mean, I think we all learn in life that making decisions solely for money usually doesn't work out for the best, but yeah, I think that's a good one. And I don't even know how you begin to regulate it, and clearly if you're going to rely on any entity on the globe to properly regulate it, the NCAA would probably be one of the last ones you choose to be able to do it the right way. So I can't imagine it's going to be the Wild West for a long time, but
hopefully it gets delayed just a little bit longer so they can wrap up this Michigan case they're dealing with now.
Yeah, really, which we've heard nothing about.
Exactly.
And this was going to be a separate grievance, but it doesn't even have to be. It could be a quick one. But what the hell happened there? Like there hadn't been a peep about it, and really since the OSU Michigan game. So like it never happened. Like and they're talking about an extension for Harbaugh. Like fuck that.
One other thing I will say that's a positive for NIL is especially female athletics, where I've had a few of the female Youngstown State women's players on the show that are being able to like cash in on their NIL stuff. But you look at someone like Olivia Dunn, who I would have not known who that was, but she is everywhere now, or Caitlin Clark, or like a bunch of other. So it's been really good for women's athletics, as well as the lower divisions, whether it's FCS or whether it's like a MAC school or whatever. It's like, again, use it for what it's intended for, not drop $1 million on the best running back in the state of Florida to come to your school and then not give him that money, and then he ends up in the transfer portal, and then it's all right, so we'll move on with that one, but screw Michigan too, so all right, Greg, you're up.
I'll go relatively quickly on this one. This is more of like, this is less of a kind of like hateful grievance and more of just kind of damn, it's a concern that's kind of starting to brew. You may share this. It's about the Cavs. And I just feel like, and again, some of it's bad luck. Some of it is, you could say maybe there needs to be a change made at the coaching position. We'll see. But I'm concerned because I feel like I feel like the Cavs window, while it's not like closing quickly, it is like it's this team as it currently stands is another 2 to 3 years maybe, and I just think when you watch this team when the Cavs are healthy and they're playing well and they got it cooking, you're like, this is a second tier NBA team, but they could make a run in the playoffs. Maybe as high as maybe a top 6 or 7 team. I think this year, I think you got Denver, you got Boston, you got Milwaukee, you got Minnesota, who's really coming on. You have sort of your top tier, but like we're like right there. We could beat anybody on a given night. It had a great game against Philly. But the combination of just not being able to keep guys healthy and these random, like Garland can't stop getting hit in the face no matter how, it's just these oddball things. And I think as much as I think this guy is going to be an elite NBA talent, Evan Mobley not quite taken that step that I think we really need him to take to be maybe a top 25 NBA player. I hear rumblings. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is going to be on this team maybe next season or in 2 years At some point, they may trade Mitchell. They can't keep what they have. They have a good roster.
Yep.
They have potential. It's just really frustrating right now because we're sitting in the number 9 spot. We can't stay healthy. Coaching's been inconsistent, and they're still a fun team to watch. Still enjoy it, but it just feels like there needs to be maybe a little more sense of urgency than there is. And pretty soon we might be looking back in a couple of years and being like, son of a bitch, we had a great young team and just couldn't capitalize. We haven't won a playoff series with this group yet, and that's not good enough.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I totally agree. I my only pushback to that would be, well, one, I agree with you about it might be time for a coaching change. Like I'm not normally, and I have another grievance on coaching changes here in a little bit, but I think with JB, I think what you see is what you get. I think he kind of reminds me of like Baker Mayfield in this sense. He was like the right guy for the Cavs when they were coming together, like after that whole beeline crap and stuff like that. And now they're ready to graduate to the next guy, the tactician, the X's and O coach that can really get it done. And then maybe you have your rah assistant coaches, that get up in the guys' faces, stuff like that. I mean, you got Walton there, you got, other guys that have done it before, but I don't think JB's the guy like to win to go far. I really like him. I think he's a good guy, but I don't think he's the long-term answer. And one other thing I'll push back, I think the future of this team, if Mobley can take that next step and Garland can stay healthy, I think those two are the future of your franchise. I think you're going to move on from Donovan Mitchell. And
I think you do too. And that's a trick. They have to nail that trade.
Yes.
That's a trade that they must hit. Because he's great. And it's like, I was listening, I had a Bill Simmons podcast on it, and he was kind of scratching his head on the Cavs too. And it's just like, there's just something missing, even when everybody's, and maybe it's just simply the fact that, like, you have Garland and you have Mitchell, you have two guys that thrive with the ball in their hand. And we see this all the time in the NBA and in basketball in general. When you have two guys that make their money with the ball in their hand, only one can have the ball in their hand. So it's like one night Mitchell scores 40 and then the next night Garland scores 35. But like, you don't see a lot of nights where it's like they both have really good games, or one has a lot of assists and one has a lot of points. And it's not that they don't play well together. It's just that it's really hard when you have two guards that handle the ball to coexist and be consistently good. But
I just I have to admit, because we're recording this on a Monday night, I just noticed the Cavs are beating the Rockets right now in overtime, so they're about to close it out. So at least they'll be 2-0 since both of those injuries. So hopefully they're in the right direction. But you're right though. The NBA, especially when you don't have that LeBron James, like, top 3-4 player on, Giannis, Jokic, whoever it might be, list your 5 guys. If you don't have one of those 5 guys, or if you have one of those 5 guys, you're in contention every year.
Yeah.
If you don't have one of those 5, you can have a lot of really good talent, but it's all got to come together at the right time. So that's a good one. So, all right. Moving on. By the way, I'm gonna share real quick. So if anyone later, excuse me, these pretzels are making me thirsty here. Another Seinfeld reference. We are doing the airing of our sports grievances here, and this is what Festivus is all about. So again, the aluminum pole, you invite your family and friends over for dinner. You tell them about how they've disappointed you this year. And then you do the feats of strength. We're gonna pass on the feats of strength this year, but we are going to continue with a few more grievances here. So my next one, and I'm curious if you agree with me or disagree with me on this one, but I'm going to go with the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and how it is done. I think it's a complete joke. I don't know about you. Like I've seen a lot of baseball games. I've been to a lot of baseball games, probably, I don't know, 100 to 200, in my lifetime, probably 200 games in my lifetime. Out of those games, out of all those games, I can definitely say without a doubt, the best player I've ever seen on a baseball field is Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds will not even sniff the Hall of Fame. And I get, okay, yeah, he probably cheated. He was probably using steroids and stuff, but so was 75, 80% of the league at that time. And I think before, my argument to that is before, and there's no, this is the date he started steroids, this is the date he was off, whatever. He was probably still the best player in baseball before that. That just obviously enhanced some home run numbers. And again, you could say half the pitchers were probably on it for recovery purposes for this and for that. And again, it was like baseball kind of knew what was going on with the whole Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire thing, that whole, to get it back after the strike. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do anything, but hey, once the hammer came down, it's like, well, we're not letting this guy in. We're not letting, Rafael Palmeiro or Alex Rodriguez or Barry Bonds or whoever. And then, side note to that, Pete Rose, the all-time leader in hits in Major League Baseball, is not in. Gambling, and again, whatever you want to think about that, but we got people like Ty Cobb who used to beat the hell out of his wife and kids and shit like that. And we got drunks, we got alcoholics, we got abusers, we got criminals that are in the Hall of Fame, but we're not going to let guys in because certain stats might be a little bit inflated. But they were also playing in that competition where the other guys were doing it too. So what's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I agree with that take on the Hall of Fame because, and I think there's always complaints about just the voting process, and it's just these old, I just picture it's a bunch of like guys in their 70s and 80s, like old school, like baseball guys that, have their very, purist type views. And you can argue the merits of the guys that did steroids. I mean, you're totally right about Bonds. I mean, these guys definitely, whether they did it or not, are good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. But the whole voting process sucks. And I used to hate, and I think they finally, it'd be like Randy Johnson would be like up for the Hall of Fame, and some like piece of shit guy like wouldn't vote him in just because it's like, well, he shouldn't be unanimous because you can't be unanimous. I think Mariano Rivera and maybe Jeter became unanimous votes, but there was a long time where like, I don't think Ken Griffey Jr. I don't think was a unanimous, like it's just done for, it's done just for this fake prestige of like, no, Babe Ruth was unanimous and these guys, like, and this guy, it's just, so that whole like institution, and I don't know how you change it. It's just really hard to get in. And then sometimes like one guy gets in and then sometimes like four guys get in. And it's just like, I like that take. It definitely, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
That being said, I was there over the summer and in Cooperstown.
The
Hall of Fame itself in Cooperstown is awesome.
Yeah.
The process of how people get voted in is very flawed.
Okay. We can agree on that. I like that. Okay. All right. So that's our take on that one. Greg, you got another one?
Yeah. So I know we probably don't get a lot of hockey takes on your show. So I'll keep this one relatively brief, but this one's just on the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I don't know how many people who watch the show really follow the Jackets. There's really not much to follow on the ice, but like just a little bit from somebody in Columbus who, like, I'll watch them admittedly kind of on a more of a fair weather basis. When they're playing well, I'll watch them a little more, but I'll watch Jackets games. We like to go to a few a year. It's great. Going to a hockey game is a blast. Nationwide Arena, tremendous place to watch a game. It's a lot of fun. Never had a bad experience there of the arena experience. The problem is this, the team's been in existence since 2000. I think they started in the 2000-2001 season. And I think they made the playoffs maybe 3 or 4 times. They've won 1 playoff series. And just ongoing, bad personnel decisions. Just never seemed to really have the right coach. Although we did have a coach for a while that did pretty well. And just when if you ranked kind of all the professional sports franchises, like they would be towards the bottom in terms of just, how they're run, their success rate and things like that. And the sad thing is that Columbus fans, the hockey fans are phenomenal. The soccer fans are phenomenal. Everybody's like, oh, Ohio State or, Columbus is a football town and that's it. The Crew has a great following. The Jackets actually, any given night, they're going to have a good crowd, even though they have a shit product. So for anybody who says that you couldn't bring an NBA or NFL team or MLB team to Columbus, I'm not so sure. Good fan base, hungry fan base.
Yeah.
Continued terrible performance. And it's just, there's something organizationally wrong when you just are so bad for so long. And it was probably culminated this offseason by so they've hired a new coach. I don't know if you've heard too much about this when it came up. It happened pretty quickly. And the guy's pretty aptly named. His name's Mike Babcock. But he's a good coach. I think he won a Stanley Cup and he's been a pretty good coach, but known piece of shit. Like when he was hired, it was like, yeah, this guy's good, but he's a terrible human being.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure this is the best hire, especially in 2023. Well, this guy was employed for probably all of a month in the off season, called his players in individually to kind of do an interview. And when he did that, there's different stories, but when he did that, he was basically, let me see your phone. I'm going to go through your phone. I want to see what kind of person you are. So I'm sure he saw a lot of stuff, but you can't do that. And there was a players union grievance filed within days of that. In 2 weeks, he's gone.
Yeah.
And that's just one example and bad example of just how much egg on their faces this organization has. And it's just you have to be actively bad to suck for 23 years.
Yeah.
It's just, and then you look at and it's not they're an expansion team. Well, who won the Stanley Cup last year? The Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, and by the way, they were in the Stanley Cup, I think their first year.
They were.
Yeah. And the Seattle Kraken were in the Western Conference Finals against Vegas last year. So that was basically 2 middle fingers of the Jackets right there. 2 expansion teams right away. So that's not an excuse. None of this is an excuse. Yeah, you got to get better. The fans the fans want it, and it's just a shame.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And yeah, that's almost like bringing in Mike Babcock. Sounds like it's almost bringing Kevin Spacey onto your movie set now. This guy's got a little bit of a checkered past. Maybe let's go a different way. Bring in a new guy. A new fresh face that won't muck it up too much. So, all right, I'm gonna go a different route here. It's in season. It's actually very, very timely. It's a good Festivus themed one, but I'm gonna go with this. Has always been a pet peeve of mine: college football bowl game names. Like this year, so there was a great college football game played today. Western Kentucky came back 21 or more points. to beat Old Dominion in overtime today in the famous Toastery Bowl.
Oh my God.
First of all, it's on a Monday around Christmas. Like, not a lot of people are probably watching anyway. But could we here's what I always said, like, it should be like the Rose Bowl presented by AT&T.
Yeah.
It should be the Peach Bowl presented by Chick-fil-A, not the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Like, call it, like, this is maybe a boomer take or something, but I don't think anyone's getting excited about the Cheez-It Bowl or like the Tony the Tiger Bowl or whatever it's called now. And like, I mean, they're the Duke's Mayo Bowl, there was a Beef O'Brady's Bowl. Like, I mean, you can go on and on. I'm sure we could list like a dozen or probably a lot more weirdest college football bowl names. So that's just a current pet peeve. So just mine.
That's a great take. And it's really hard taking him seriously when you're flipping the channel and you see the name. And I think it was one of the games the other day, like one of my kids was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I just like, if you got like a 13-year-old kid picking his head up from his phone to be like, what the heck bowl is this? And there's something wrong with the name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, like last year, I get it. It's like the sponsors paying the money, it's a good TV contract, whatever. But like, it's hard to get up when you're a player for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl or, the hometown lenders Bahamas Bowl. Like, hey, I'm excited for the Bahamas Bowl. I want to go down there. You could say, how about we name it the Bahamas Bowl presented by whatever company, or like it's just ridiculous at these. Like, I mean, at some point we're going to get a freaking shit bowl presented by Charmin. So
I'm sure they'd have a good trophy for that. Yeah, no,
this is going to be an exciting game. Good. Hope you wore your Depends for the Pampers Bowl. So I don't know. Just a take on the names. So let's get back to like the Sun Bowl, the Poinsettia Bowl, even whatever, Holiday Bowl, all that stuff. So just my 2 cents on that. All right, Greg, you're up.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to this is I guess when you're talking NIL, I kind of teased this one very briefly because this is totally like a money one, but like, I'm a pretty big golf fan, and this whole like live golf thing, that's been going on for a while, and it just sucks. Like it's just not, I like the latest was in the news a couple weeks ago. John Rahm made the leap over from PGA to live golf for, I've heard anywhere from $300 million to $600 million. And hey, more power to them. Like if you're getting offered that kind of money to go play golf, and they play 3-round tournaments and they play probably once every 3-4 weeks, why not? Like I get it.
Yeah, do you know what live actually stands for?
Isn't it something with the Roman numeral?
Yeah, it's 54 because that's the amount of holes they play.
Yeah, like and it's like again. I think we've all it's Saudis, it's sport washing, which we never knew what the hell sport washing was. I also have no idea how creating a golf league is going to make people think more highly of their human rights violations. And the money's dirty, whatever. Like I think if any of us got offered that kind of money, play golf, we do it. This is more, it's just unfortunate. It sucks because, so much of like, and if you just, it's so hokey, like the team names, it's like the Aces, like, and it's like these weird ass logo. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's probably people that get into it. I know they have good attendance, but like, I don't know anybody that's like, man, I'm really like psyched for the third round of this live tournament. It's on like the CW. It's just not like the idea maybe works if you were to like, if you had all the PGA Tour golfers together and you did these like sometimes, but what it does is it takes away from, first of all, it takes away a lot of the best golfers in the world from these kind of weekly PGA tournaments that have character and have history. And, we go to the Memorial every year and, no John Rahm this year, no Dustin Johnson, no Brooks Koepka, all those guys won't be there. And, I get it. They're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. That's fine. But, there's something about winning at Muirfield, shaking Jack Nicklaus's hand. They'll still play the majors, but there's so many other big tournaments. And it just sucks. It makes the PGA Tour not as enjoyable to watch. It does open up opportunities for guys who normally wouldn't have those opportunities. And again, I when it first happened, I'd get mad at the guys for leaving. But there's so much money being thrown around now. I'm just mad at the whole thing. It just sucks. Yeah. There was talk of a merger. It doesn't sound like that's happening anytime soon. So now we're just stuck with, this half of the best golfers in the world. And there's going to be more that go. Rahm's going to bring people with them. And you just have half the best golfers in the world playing in this kind of other league. And it sucks. It's not as fun.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, we go down to the Memorial every year. Like, you want to see those guys play. You want to see the best competition. You only get to see them once a year, a lot of people. And
it's like Shooter McGavin would never have played live. He wants that gold jacket. He wants to stay on tour.
Exactly.
I don't know. Then again, I sound like one of those Major League Hall of Fame voters. If I'm like, you gotta respect the history, but it's like it's
well, you're also watering down the field too, so you're not necessarily playing the best competition in those tournaments then too. Like any guy golf wise can step up any given weekend. We've seen it. But like it is unfortunate. It sucks. I got a lot of problem with you people.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear
unfortunate's the right word. It's just like, damn, like it just kind of, I'm not like the biggest John Rahm fan, but he's a hell of a golfer, and the tournament's a lot more entertaining and competitive when he's in it. So
yeah.
100%. At some point, the only way to bring this back, I mean, besides like a merger, which may happen at some point, they got to figure out some way to have like a grudge match, like between the two leagues, because there is a lot of angst, especially coming from the PGA guys to the live guys who, probably consider them sellouts. You got like Rory McIlroy, who's kind of been a pretty outspoken pro PGA guy, Jordan Spieth, like those guys. Like it would be fun to kind of see at some point some Ryder Cup like competition between the two tours. And also, like, fuck Greg Norman. That guy choked so many times in his career. I mean, he's probably making a ton of money now, but he's kind of, him and Mickelson have kind of been like have turned heel on this one and kind of become the bad guys in this whole thing. But.
Let's have another shrimp on the barbie. Let's go blow another 5-stroke lead on 18. No, it sucks. It sucks. And like, do you think there'll ever be a point where there's so many guys that have left where it's like, or, will these, I thought I heard something about a merger, but
I mean, that was the idea. And I don't know, it's still, I don't know. The whole thing has been weird because the merger was basically like the PGA Tour commissioner kind of like negotiated this merger, like
that guy's a piece of trash too.
Yeah, that guy's. I know. It's like at some point, but I'll tell you what. If anybody, I heard this on the radio and I couldn't believe it, and I haven't Googled it, but I'm sure it's true. If anybody thinks the money's running out, I heard that the Saudi royal family is worth over $1 trillion. Trillion
with a T.
With a T. That's $1,000 billion. So when they're paying John Rahm $300 or $400 million, like, I mean, that's like me reaching my wallet right now and pulling out like a $50 bill. So the money's not stopping. Like, so they're not, it's not like, oh, we got another It's not like, oh, we got another like, 400 million to spend on golfers and then we're done. No, it's like a
Wow.
never ending stream of money. So that, and everybody's got a price, as the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase, said. So they'll continue to pluck these guys, and who knows? So you might be right. I mean, there may be a point where the PGA Tour just becomes like the JV league, and then I don't know what happens.
Wow. It's hard to even wrap your mind around $1 trillion. Like, I mean, you think about the Walton family bought the Broncos for like what, $5 billion, something like that. It's like how many they could just buy up all the NFL teams, and I know they can't, but but that's insanity.
Yeah,
absolute insanity. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, let's do a couple more here. And speaking of out of control contracts, this is where I'm going with my next one. And again, you're worth what you get paid. So I have zero problem with guys going out and getting money. My problem is my next one. I'm going to go back to Major League Baseball. Is there is not an even playing field. Shohei Ohtani just signed a 10-year, $700 million contract. So 70 million a year. So for the next 10 years, he's actually only going to make $20 million. He's going to make $2 million a year, and then 68 million. He went the Bobby Bonilla route, 68 million. And Greg, you're a numbers guy, and you work with money and all that stuff. To me, I actually think that's like I don't understand, because it's like, couldn't you do more with that money in hand?
Yeah.
And like investing and so I don't understand that part. If I'm going to defer money, I'm going to be like, okay, I'll defer like 10% of it or something like that. But I don't get it. So
the only thing that I can think of is the value of the contract is like intentionally inflated because he was deferring such a big part of it. Like if it was like, because if you had applied some type of time value of money, that's probably like a 500. That's probably like if you were getting paid 500 million or something.
Yeah, right.
So maybe that was factored in, but
okay. Yeah, I was curious your thoughts on that, because I was like, it seems like you're actually giving money away by not taking it up front and investing it. So I don't know. Maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe he's shorting a bunch of shit. But back to my original point is like, so the Cleveland Guardians right now, and I don't have their salary cap numbers in front of me, but I'm guessing it's somewhere in that $70 to $90 million range. Maybe, so their 26-man roster will make the same amount of money Shohei Ohtani will make. And, the Guardians are one of the notoriously lower spending franchises, one of the, I would say, bottom 6. But you got like the Orioles are usually there, the Pirates, the Tampa Bay Rays. There's you can list like the Oakland A's, which are moving to Vegas, and they're going to go up. But there's a whole bunch of teams that cannot compete financially with the Dodgers, Yankees, these big market teams. There's really like, about 8, well, not even 8, probably like 6 teams in Major League Baseball that can pay whatever they want, pay for mistakes, and it's just not a level playing field. And now, while I say there should be a salary cap, there should also be a salary floor.
Yeah.
So, that you're holding these owners in check and stuff. So, I don't know what those numbers are, but something should probably be negotiated there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, well said. I think, I do think it's weird because we've seen these super teams before and it doesn't always work out.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Dodgers will be in the playoffs the next 10 years almost.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of the problem because baseball is kind of random once you get to the playoffs, but getting to the playoffs is so while the Guardians might get to the playoffs, once every 3 or 4 years and then have to kind of catch lightning in a bottle. The Dodgers, Yankees are probably going to get, 5 or 6 chances in the next 7 years.
You're buying opportunity.
Yeah, and that's I think Shohei is. I mean, who doesn't love that guy? But $700 million is way too much. They're paying him to be 2 players essentially,
right.
And he's already not going to pitch next year. And I don't know. It just feels like it's going to be like it'll be like Pujols, where in year 8 or 9 of that contract, he's not going to be, producing at that level. But if they have 2 or 3 World Series and all the money that they're going to make from, just like from memorabilia and whatever.
Right.
Like, and they already sell out every game, but still they can up tickets and all that. Like they'll make the money back, but it sucks.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like, Juan Soto to the Yankees, Shohei to the Dodgers, and it's like the same 16. It's like, he's looking at Toronto and New York. It's like the New York teams, Toronto, San Francisco,
Cubs,
Cubs, and it's just, it sucks. And whereas we'll sign like some guy, it'll be like,
we just signed Austin Hedges for major league minimum.
Yeah.
Jake Taylor, who's this guy?
It's just, it sucks, and we've done really well with what little resources we've had. God, you just wish spend a little bit of money, because it always just seems like we don't have that like one guy that you could stick in the middle of the lineup. It's going to hit 40 home runs and protect Jose and all that.
And again, that makes you appreciate Jose Ramirez for taking that hometown discount. I mean, he's still getting very well compensated, but below market value is what he took to stay in Cleveland. So, but Major League Baseball, get it figured out, because they are going to drive more and more fans away, I think, for teams that are going to be, they're doing some revenue sharing and stuff like that, but it's still not to the point where it needs to be. Yeah. So,
and it's sad for people who love baseball too. And I think they did such a great job with the pitch clock.
Yes.
To really help make the game more watchable on a daily basis. And this kind of stuff just drives it away a little bit.
Yep. All right, Greg, let's do 2 more. So, and then we can throw out a few. So you got one more good one you want to go with?
I'm between 2.
Shit. Give me them both.
No, okay. The first one's just like, every Sunday or Monday, and admittedly, we probably all watch these and laugh, but how many like NFL fan fights do you see like on your Twitter feed? And like these jack-offs, that like, I mean, we're all like, we've all done stupid stuff. We all do stupid stuff from time to time, right? But like, these like 40-year-old men who probably have families and jobs, and most of them like they have no business fighting anybody, because they're probably more likely to strain an oblique throwing a punch than they are to actually land a punch. But in the unlikely event that they do get land one or fall and fall on their face or something, like imagine like being a family member and somebody's like, they were killed at an NFL football game because they got in a fight with some guy that had a Chargers jersey on, and they made a comment about Justin Herbert. It's like, again, it goes back to kind of like what we're talking about. Football is a violent sport. It kind of inspires violence. Like, and if we've been to a lot of Browns games, like it's an interesting crowd at NFL games wherever you go.
Yeah,
there's a lot of,
to say the least,
a lot of alcohol consumed. But can we not like get in a fucking huge brawl on the way out of the stadium? Like, can we just have a little bit of more respect as human beings? As entertaining as it is to watch sometimes, like somebody will get killed and probably has gotten.
Actually has. Yeah.
So it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, figure it
out. I 100% agree. And like you said, it's funny to see on Twitter or X or whatever, like, the 400-pound fat dude with his girlfriend yapping in some person's ear like they just start throwing. But it's like, but I try to think like if I was sitting there, like what, like, I mean, I'm not throwing a punch or something, but it's like you can't even go there for what you want, like went to see. So it's like at some point, it's like security's got to get involved. But and another thing too, there is phones, there are cameras everywhere. So no matter how much you've consumed or whatever, and we like to throw a few back, like pre-game, post-game, during game, whatever. But it's like stay within your limits, and like, and if you're an angry, temperamental person, maybe an NFL stadium isn't the best place for you. Maybe stay home and break your TV like another, group of idiots that you'll see out there on the internet. So
it's like at the end of the day, and I know it's people say it all, but it really is a game. It's a game. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not the end as much as we sometimes you don't feel that way in the moment. It is not the end all be all world.
Yeah.
It is not like, more important than your livelihood or your family or your health. So like just put it a little bit in perspective.
Yep. And I was actually Googling to try to find a couple good ones. There's like thousands. So it
is literally every week. Like, if like the Giants and the Cowboys are playing wherever they're playing, there's going to be 25 fights in the stands.
Yeah.
Same for Brown Steelers and anything
right.
like that.
Well, I mean, we're recording this right now, and Philadelphia is at Seattle. That's there's rivalry. There'll be people fighting there, I'm sure, just because they're idiots. So
yeah. And then sometimes it doesn't even matter. Like it just two Browns fans might just go out, like a guy in a Metcalf jersey and a guy in a Lockett jersey might just start throwing down for no reason other than
exactly. Hey, maybe they're just airing their grievance.
That's true. Beats the strength.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They took it to the next level. All right, I'm going to go one more here, and then if you
we're good. I don't need to do any more. So we're
all right. Well, my only other one that I see all the time, and again, this goes back to social media. There's just a lot of stupid people out there. A lot of stupid people, and everyone thinks they should be the host of First Take and all this other shit. It's like, for God's sakes, we don't have to fire a coach every time they lose, and we don't have to give them a contract extension every time they win. Like literally, I guarantee you, there's at least 1,000 people in the state of Ohio right now that think they could do a better job than Kevin Stefanski or Ryan Day. Like literally 1,000 people throughout the state of Ohio that think I could do a better job right now than Kevin Stefanski. I could do a better job than Ryan Day. I could do a better job than my local high school basketball coach. I could do a better job than you know what you should do? Go out there and volunteer for a youth little league team or something like that. If you're such an expert, get out there and share that with the youth. Like, don't be sharing it on Twitter. Like, and I get everyone's got a take, and takes within reason are fine and whatever. I'm sure I've said dumb shit too, but it's like at some point it's like coaches get too much credit when they win, too much blame when they lose. But there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks. There's a lot of couch experts out there that are really, but couldn't tell you different progressions or, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, whatever, and not to mention managing a roster, like doing all the stuff in the locker room behind the scenes, running practices, all this other stuff. And it's a joke. And I get like Ryan Day makes $9 to $10 million a year. He's going to get heat. That's fine. That comes with the job. But I'm airing my grievance on these particular fans, and we all know them. We know them. And we have some friends that are in that group. But there's a lot of people out there that think they're really smart, and they're really fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say no more. I mean, it's It is, and it's like we all have the luxury of sitting on our couch watching 6 replays, having hindsight, and not being the man in the arena, as they say, right? And
Yeah, right.
just like to be able to, there's so it's like what we're watching, the plays that we're watching on TV, the decisions that we're watching are 3% of what it's just the output of what's going into it, right? And sometimes it'll be like, we saw this defense, we intentionally called this play, and we missed one block and it blew up. But like if we hit that block, it goes for 30 yards. And it's just like, but everybody's like, what the hell? That's the worst play call I've ever seen. And it's just like,
I didn't hear anybody. I didn't hear anybody complaining when Stefanski brought in DTR yesterday for a 4th and 1 call that everybody thought he was going to run, and then he throws it. But if he doesn't get that,
if he spiked that thing into the ground, it would be, Twitter would have blown up. Yeah,
but they practiced it all week. It probably worked like 90% of the time, and they're like, let's go with this on a 4th down and 1 call where they probably think we're running Kareem Hunt up the middle. But just frustrating from my perspective. Whether you have been a coach or not been a coach before, it's like, I think you need to put yourself in those other people's shoes. And like you said, it's like what you're seeing is like a small fraction of what that job actually entails. So,
it's just the nature of these takes too. They're either like it's gonna have to be one. You can't just be like, you're not just gonna tweet out like, oh, the Browns, like, they're really running some good mix today. They're doing all right. It's either like, this is absolutely terrible, fuck this team, fuck everything, or like, holy shit, like Stefanski is a god, like all these plays are working, Flacco's incredible, like this team, I love this fucking team. And it's like, it's just there's no emotional roller coaster like the NFL, and week to week it changes like you would not believe, minute to minute even. So sometimes it's just like, actually, how about we just sit back and watch it happen, and then we don't have to live tweet about like our stream of consciousness, because like in 10 minutes that thought's going to be completely obsolete.
No, it's so relevant. It happens all the time, and there's so many, and that's why I can't stand like a lot of the First Take shows or the Skip Baylesses, where it's like they literally are just going to be argumentative to a point where, because they're trying to stir up, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Let's try to get their fans riled up because we know that's going to bring in ratings. And I get that aspect of it, but it's like, it's stupid TV, and it's dumbing down a lot of the public. So
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So those are my main ones. If you got any other little ones, feel free to throw them out. I got hundreds of them, but
I just have one that I can't stand watching Joel Embiid play basketball. For as good as that guy is, he can't. When you're like 6 years old, they tell you like, hey, like, try to be strong on your feet when you play basketball. That guy falls 26 times in a game. He goes to the line 23 times because he gets a foul every time. And it's just, thank God he's not playing with Harden anymore. But like, I don't know, just something about that guy. He's phenomenal. He's leading the league in scoring. I just hate watching him play, probably more than anybody in the league.
That's funny you say that, because I can't stand watching James Harden play basketball.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Definitely, yeah. Same type. Yeah, they it's amazing it didn't work between those two, because they both they get more they get more garbage fouls than anybody I've ever seen. It's like, I've never seen a guy 7'1", 300 pounds that just like falls over when he gets touched and he gets a foul every time. It's just it's bad.
That's good. Well, I think what we'll do, instead of listing a bunch of honorable mentions that are like kind of generic, we're just going to make this a yearly segment around Festivus, and there'll probably be a lot more current events that are like more specific. So, I mean, we got college football, NFL, we got golf, we got hockey on this one, we got basketball, we got freaking Hall of Fame stuff. So we were all over the board. I think this was good with that. So this was our airing of grievances. And, once again, if you have not seen the Frank Costanza episode of it, go watch it. But December 23rd every year is Frank Costanza's Festivus, and RIP Jerry Stiller. But this was good, and I think it's a good way to get a lot of different takes on a lot of like current event sporting stuff. So Greg, I appreciate you doing this. Hang backstage for a second, and I'm going to run a couple things here, but we appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for following, and make sure to follow our social media and all that stuff. So we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.